In Victorian London, more lives were lost to hunger and disease in the slums than Britain ever lost in its prisons, or even in its wars abroad. Here, death was not a visitor, but a permanent resident. By the mid-19th century, nearly a third of London's people lived in crushing poverty. The wealth of the empire filled the docks with spices, tea, and silk. Yet in the alleys just beyond the grand avenues, men and women lay starving. Official records counted deaths by the thousands from hunger, cholera, and typhus. But the truth was worse. Many bodies were never written down at all, simply buried without a name, as if the city itself swallowed them whole. If you enjoy these journeys, a like and a subscription mean more than you think. They directly keep this channel alive. And I'd love to hear from you too. Where are you listening from? And what time is it right now? Now together we must slip into the journey. You wake to the sound of coughing. At first it seems far away, a muffled rhythm hidden beneath the rattle of passing wheels, but then it grows louder, closer, the harsh bark of someone sleeping only a few feet from you. The room is narrow, the ceiling low, the damp walls weeping moisture down their brick seams. A single window high above your head lets in a sliver of grey morning light, thickened by fog and smoke. You shiver. Your skin feels clammy, slick with sweat, though the air itself is cold. Beneath you is not a mattress, but straw flattened to near dust, mixed with old rags that smell of mildew and smoke. You shift and feel the prickle of a splinter through cloth so thin it hardly counts as clothing at all. You press your hand to your stomach, waiting for the pain of hunger to fade. It doesn't. The ache has been there for days, sharpest in the morning before you move. A deep growl rises from your belly, echoing in the silence. You wonder if others can hear it. Someone stirs in the shadows. You catch a glimpse of a child curled in the corner, hidden beneath a ragged coat. His chest rises and falls unevenly, his breath rasping as though each gasp is stolen from the air itself. You are not sure if he is your brother, your son, or simply another lost soul who found this shelter for the night. Kinship in the slums is blurred. Neighbours and strangers sleep side by side, bound together by the same hunger. Another cough rattles the walls. A man turns over on the straw and groans. Somewhere above, water drips from the ceiling, striking metal with a steady tick, tick. You count each drop without meaning to, your mind half dreaming, half starved. At last you rise. Your limbs ache, your joints stiff from cold and damp. You wrap your arms around yourself for warmth, but your shirt is nothing more than a sack of holes stitched together. The cloth is stiff with dirt and sweat, crusted from days without washing. You glance down at your feet, bare, cracked, darkened by soot and mud. Some say shoes are pawned more often than wedding rings, and you know why. At the pawnbroker's, one pair of boots might mean enough bread for 2 days. You stagger to the doorway. The wood is swollen with rain, its surface slimy to the touch. You press it open and step into the alley. The smell hits you before your eyes adjust, sour waste, coal smoke, and the sharp sting of urine. The alley is narrow, walls pressing close, puddles spreading in uneven patches. You step into the water, cold seeping instantly through skin and bone. Rats scatter at your movement, their tails whipping behind them like ropes. A cat crouches near the refuse pile, hissing at you, its ribs pressing hard against patchy fur. You wonder who will eat first, animal or man. In these streets, even beasts starve. 2 doors down, a woman is already at her washtub. Steam rises in pale ribbons as she beats clothes against wood, the sound carrying in the still air. Reformers write that laundry steam sometimes fogs entire alleys, turning them into ghostly tunnels. To you it is only another scent layered atop the stench, soap mingled with sewage. You follow the narrow path outward. The cobblestones glisten, slick with last night's rain. Gas lamps still flicker, halos of yellow light bending through the fog. Above, black smoke pours from a forest of chimneys, spreading into the sky until dawn itself seems smothered. The rich call it the breath of progress. For you it is the taste of sickness, bitter, dry, choking. Somewhere a door slams, and a boy no older than 10 rushes past, clutching a bundle of newspapers. His bare feet slap against the stone as he vanishes into the fog. Children like him are everywhere. Hawkers, match sellers, pickpockets. Some make pennies, some never return. Letters hint that hundreds of such children went missing every year, though few cared to count them. You think of the market. By the time you arrive, the best scraps will already be gone. The wealthy districts discard what they no longer wish to eat. Fish gone soft, meat trimmed of pride, bread hardened to stone. Here those same scraps mean survival. You have seen mothers dipping stale bread into hot water, softening it just enough for their children to swallow. A reformer once wrote that the bread was sometimes mixed with sawdust or chalk to stretch its weight. You do not know if that is true. What you know is the ache of an empty stomach and the taste of crumbs on your tongue. A sound breaks the morning stillness. A bell tolling in the distance, once, twice, 3 times, the factory call. From every alley, figures emerge, gaunt men, weary women, even children, all drawn toward the sound. Their bodies sway like reeds, thin and hollow, yet they move as if pulled by invisible chains. You step forward with them, whether you wish it or not. The bell owns you. The air grows louder with the rhythm of boots. Voices rise, harsh and urgent. A woman drags a boy by the hand, his legs stumbling to keep pace. A cart creaks under the weight of coal, its driver snapping the reins until the horse whinnies. Above it all, the bell continues, each note deeper than the last, as if the city itself commands obedience. You clutch your stomach again. The hunger is sharper now, stirred awake by the thought of labour ahead. You think of yesterday's crust of bread, so hard you cut your gums trying to chew it. You think of water drawn from the pump, brackish and sour, yet all that kept you from collapse. The bell rings again, louder, closer. Smokestacks in the distance belch flame, their fire swallowing what little light remains of morning. You feel the day begin not with hope, but with weight. The work will strip you of strength. The hunger will hollow you further, and still there will be nothing left to give. You stand in the alley, fog curling around your ankles, stomach gnawing itself to silence. Ahead the city stirs, restless and endless. And you have no choice but to step into it, empty-handed, empty-bellied, already tired before the day begins. You step into the street, your stomach hollow, your limbs weak, and at once the air thickens around you. It carries more than coal smoke. It carries the cough of the neighbour you left behind, the phlegm rattling in a child's throat, the quiet moan of someone too weak to rise from their straw pallet. In Victorian London, sickness is not an accident. It is the air you breathe. Reformers write that whole families vanished within weeks, struck down by cholera, typhus or tuberculosis. Records suggest that in the slums, nearly 1 in 2 children never lived past their 5th birthday. The numbers do not feel like numbers to you. They feel like the boy curled in the corner this morning, his chest barely lifting. They feel like your own lungs tight, as if they too are already failing. The alley widens into a narrow street. Crowds gather, pulled by the same bell, and every step brings a new sound of illness. Someone spitting into the gutter, another hacking until they bend double, a woman clutching her ribs as though the cough itself might tear them apart. You hear wheezing breaths. Sharp as a saw, a thin man leans against a wall, his lips blue, eyes sunken. He drags on a clay pipe, smoke mixing with the fog until you cannot tell which poisons the air more. The smell is a brew of damp wool, coal dust, and the sour sweetness of rotting food, but underneath, faint yet constant, lingers the iron tang of sickness. The city has its own perfume, and it is death. You pass a pump set in the middle of the street. The handle squeaks as a woman forces it down, filling a jug with cloudy water. Children gather with tin cups, their faces eager. though you know what this water holds. In 1849, the Broad Street pump spread cholera through whole neighborhoods, killing thousands in days. Pamphlets warned of invisible poisons in the water, though many dismissed them as rumor. Even now, some claim disease is carried not by water but by foul air, the infamous miasma. You do not know the truth. You only know that every swallow burns your throat, and still you drink, because thirst demands it. A child dips a rag into the bucket, squeezes it into his mouth, and coughs violently. The mother slaps his back, muttering a prayer. You glance away, unwilling to imagine what the next days will bring. Further down the street, a black cart rattles forward. Its wheels squeal against the stones, and as it passes you see the outline of a body beneath a sheet. No one follows it. No one wails. Death here is as ordinary as the smoke rising from the chimneys. Some reformers wrote that poor families often left their dead in the open for days, waiting for the parish to send a cart. You believe it, because the cart today does not stop at a single door. It stops at 3. A priest walks behind it, muttering words you cannot hear. Children chase the wheels, laughing. For them, even funerals are a distraction, a game. You feel a shiver rise along your arms. The laughter sounds sharper than the coughs. The bell still tolls in the distance, and you follow its pull. Factories loom ahead, brick towers belching black. Workers funnel inside, the crowd pressing tighter, the air hotter with the heat of bodies. You smell sweat, unwashed clothes, the sharp tang of oil. A girl in front of you, no more than 12, keeps coughing into a sleeve. Each time she does, a man beside her mutters and pulls his collar over his mouth, though he must know it is useless. Inside the gates, a foreman shouts. His voice slices through the fog, orders, threats, commands. You are herded with the others, pushed toward the spinning wheels, the roaring furnaces. The floor shakes with motion. Threads whip through the air, gears grind. You cough once, and the sound vanishes in the roar. You take your place at the machine. The air is hotter here, choked with lint and dust. It clings to your tongue, your throat, your eyes. Children scurry under the frames, nimble fingers darting where belts snap and wheels spin. Some never return. A reformer once wrote that factory floors bred a cough that grows into death itself, and you believe it. After only minutes, your chest feels heavy. A boy beside you stumbles, pale and sweating. The overseer strikes him with a stick, hissing at him to rise. The boy coughs blood onto the floor. The overseer curses, then drags him away by the arm, leaving a smear of red that workers step around as though it were nothing. You swallow hard, trying not to watch, but the image sears itself into your mind. Hours blur. The bell marks the rhythm of labour, but you no longer know if it is noon or dusk. You bend, lift, turn, feed the machine. Your arms ache. Your breath rasps. The air grows thicker, the light dimmer. Someone faints near the loom, but no one stops. Work is survival, and to stop is to risk losing the few coins that keep bread on your table. A rumour drifts through the line. Someone in the next ward has taken ill. Typhus, they whisper. Others argue it is cholera again. One says the fever comes from the river. Another insists it rides the air itself. No one agrees, but all keep working. Fear alone cannot stop the wheels. By the time the bell tolls again, the factory spews out its workers into streets already wrapped in dusk. Fog curls low, tinged with yellow by gas lamps. The coughing has not stopped. It is louder now, multiplied, carried down every alley. You walk among them, your own lungs tight, your throat raw. The day is nearly over, yet the sickness feels endless. A child stumbles ahead of you, collapsing to the stones. His mother lifts him, rocking him as though motion itself might drive the illness out. The boy's eyes roll back, his lips pale. You pause, unable to move forward or back. For a moment you wonder if you too will end in the cart, nameless, carried away without ceremony. You keep walking. The fog presses close and the lamps blur. Your chest rises, falls, rises again. Each breath shallow, heavy. You know the night will bring no relief. The coughing will echo through the alleys. The dripping water will carry sickness from one door to the next. And by dawn another family will be gone. And you step into the darkness, your body aching, your lungs burning, the city itself breathing through you, disease in the air, and no escape. You walk until your legs ache. The sound of coughing fading behind you, replaced by another rhythm. The shuffle of feet heading in the same direction. The fog lifts just enough to reveal their destination. Ahead, a black iron gate stands tall, its bars speared upward like weapons. Beyond it, stone walls rise, blank and grey. You know this place. Everyone does. The workhouse. Some call it a refuge. Others call it a prison. You call it the last step before the grave. By the mid-19th century, London counted dozens of such institutions. The Poor Law of 1834 promised to relieve the destitute, but only by stripping them of freedom, dignity and choice. Reformers wrote that workhouses were designed to be worse than the streets themselves, to scare away all but the most desperate. And yet here you are standing at the gate with a stomach gnawing itself hollow. You are not alone. A line has already formed. Thin women clutching children, old men bent double with age, young boys with hollow eyes. None speak. The silence is heavier than the fog. You step closer. The gate creaks as it opens, a sound like bone breaking. A man in a dark coat stands guard, his face stern, his voice flat as he lists the rules. No drink, no gambling, no visitors, no idleness. Families will be separated. Men to one ward, women to another, children divided by age. Husbands and wives may never see each other again, except in rare supervised moments. You feel the breath leave your chest. Separation is a cruelty sharper than hunger. You glance at the woman ahead of you, her child clinging to her skirt. She bends to whisper something in his ear. Perhaps a promise, perhaps a lie. The boy nods solemnly, too young to understand the bars that will soon rise between them. Inside, the air is colder than the street. The stone corridors echo with footsteps. The clang of keys, the scrape of wooden bowls. You are herded forward, your belongings stripped from you. A clerk writes your name into a ledger. If you give one, some here lie, fearing the shame of being recognized. Others do not bother, in the workhouse. Your name matters little. They lead you to a bench. A bundle of coarse cloth waits there. Uniforms, they call them. Though they look like shrouds, you change under the watchful eyes of the overseer, peeling off your rags, your skin goose-fleshed and pale. The new clothes itch, stiff with rough fibres, and you wonder how many bodies wore them before yours. The hall smells of boiled gruel. It seeps from a door ahead, the scent thick and sour, clinging to the air. You are marched into a long room where rows of benches stretch like pews in a chapel. At the far end, steaming vats bubble. A man with arms like tree trunks ladles the contents into tin bowls, a thin grey porridge that slides rather than sits. You take your bowl. The spoon rattles as you lift it, your hand trembling from hunger. The first mouthful is hot, bland and watery. Still, your body seizes it greedily, each swallow burning your throat. You scrape the sides, chasing every smear even as you know it will not be enough. Reformers noted that workhouse diets were intentionally meagre. Gruel, bread, perhaps a scrap of meat once a week. Enough to keep you alive, not enough to give you strength. Some whispered that prisoners ate better than paupers. Records suggest they were not wrong. After the meal, you are marched again, this time to labour. Workhouses were not charity. They were machines. Men are set to break stones or pick oakum, tarred ropes torn apart with bleeding fingers. Women scrub laundry, stitch endless seams, scour floors until their hands crack. Children, even the smallest, are sent to turn cranks, wind bobbins, or scrub until their knuckles bleed. You take your place in the line. Before you, a heap of rope lies tangled, stiff with tar. The overseer drops a hook in your hand. The fibers resist, scratching your palms, staining your nails black. Already your fingers ache, but you work because not working means punishment. Less food, more hours, a night in the dark cell. The hours blur. You pick, pull, twist. The room fills with the sound of labour, punctuated by coughs and the occasional cry. An old man collapses at his bench, but the overseer only prods him with a stick until he rises again. No rest is given, no pity shown. Letters from inspectors hint that deaths in workhouses were frequent, though seldom written in detail. Who would record the names of the nameless? Evening comes. You are herded once more, this time into a dormitory. Rows of narrow beds stretch wall to wall, each little more than wood with straw piled on top. The air is thick with the smell of unwashed bodies, damp wool and despair. You lie down, the straw prickling your skin, your belly still aching, your fingers raw, around you. Others curl in silence. Someone sobs quietly. Someone coughs until they retch. You close your eyes. For a moment you imagine the street again, the fog, the bells, even the rats. They seem almost gentler than this place. Outside you had hunger, yes, but you also had the sky. Here you have only walls. A whistle blows, lights dim, you roll onto your side, the rough cloth scratching your cheek. In the dark whispers rise, prayers, memories, half-finished sentences. You listen until the sounds blend with your own thoughts, and the truth settles heavy in your chest. The workhouse is not refuge. It is not shelter. It is surrender. And yet tomorrow you will wake to the bell again. The bell fades behind you, swallowed by fog, and as you step into another alley you see them, small figures darting like shadows, slipping through cracks in the city where grown bodies cannot fit. Children, not in school, not in play, but in survival. You hear their voices before you see their faces. A thin cry. Matches. Penny a box. Another call. Evening Star. Read the news. The words echo against the wet brick, carried in high-pitched desperation. Tiny bodies press forward, thrusting wares into the path of strangers. Boxes of matches, half-folded newspapers, cheap trinkets on string. Some pedestrians brush them aside. Others drop coins, others curse. The children scatter and return again, relentless as the rats that share their streets. You step closer, and one boy shoves a newspaper into your chest. His face is sharp with hunger, his eyes too old for his years. He cannot be more than 9. Records suggest that in mid-Victorian London, tens of thousands of children lived by their wits on the streets. Some sold matches or papers, others shined boots, many begged. Reformers estimated that half of them were orphans. Letters hint that many vanished, lost to disease, to prison, to worse. For them, childhood ended not in years but in hunger. The boy thrusts the paper again. You see the headline, bold against smudged ink. Cholera returns, dozens dead in Whitechapel. He grins with a salesman's urgency. Though his teeth are broken, his lips cracked. When you shake your head, he scampers to the next passerby, shouting again. His voice blends into the chorus of the street, until you cannot tell one cry from another. You move further and find girls clustered by a doorway. One holds a tray of flowers, wilted violets, drooping, their scent faint against the stench of sewage. She pleads with a man to buy, her eyes wide, her dress threadbare. He laughs, shakes his head, and walks on. She lowers the tray slowly, and you see the anger in her face before she hides it again. Some records say flower girls could make enough to survive a day, if weather was kind, if men were kind. But kindness was rare, and rain washed hope away as easily as petals. Charles Dickens wrote of such children, their trays heavy with fading blossoms, standing knee-deep in mud. His words were not exaggeration. Beyond them, another group plays a different game. Small hands reach into coats and pockets as crowds press tight near the market. A woman shrieks as she feels the tug. Two boys run, coins clinking, their laughter shrill and wild. They vanish into an alley before anyone can catch them. You know where they go, to pawn shops, to gin houses, to hungry mouths waiting in dark rooms. The law called them thieves. You see only children, driven by hunger sharper than fear. Reformers noted that when caught, many were sent to prisons where adults served sentences beside them. Some were shipped overseas, transported to colonies as punishment. Few returned. The market itself is alive with noise. Vendors shout over each other, hawking bread, fish, chestnuts roasted over coals. The air is thick with the smell of smoke and salt, burnt shells and sour ale. Children swarm between stalls, their eyes locked on crumbs, on peelings, on anything left behind. One girl crouches near a pile of rotting vegetables, her hands moving quick as she stuffs cabbage leaves into a sack. No one stops her. Perhaps no one sees. Nearby, a boy hovers near a chestnut stall, his hand edging closer to the pan. The vendor slaps it away with a stick. Snarling, the boy yelps, then darts off into the crowd, clutching nothing but his stinging fingers. He disappears so quickly that you wonder if he was ever really there. You pass under the shadow of a great building. The ragged school, its walls loom, promising salvation for the poorest. Inside, they say, children learn letters and prayers fed on scraps of charity. But outside, dozens linger, too many for the doors to hold. They wait, eyes pleading. Though places are few, the city boasts of education. Yet the streets remain full. Reformers claim thousands are beyond reach. A boy beside you tugs at your sleeve. He holds out a shoe brush, his hands black with polish. "Shine, sir?" he asks. Though you wear no shoes at all, his voice wavers between hope and fear. When you shake your head, he nods quickly, moving to the next, his back bent under the weight of rejection. Evening draws near. Gas lamps flicker to life, casting long beams across the fog. Children gather at corners, their cries softening as voices grow tired. Some curl on steps, clutching their wares as pillows. Others linger near taverns, waiting for drunks who might toss a coin. Or worse, a group of boys chase each other through the smoke, shouting, their laughter raw and sharp. But as they turn, you see the hollowness beneath the sound, their ribs showing through torn shirts, their eyes sunken with hunger. Joy is a mask they wear only for a moment, before night takes it away. By a tavern door, a girl no older than 12 stands silent. She wears a dress too thin for the cold. It's hen-stained. Men glance at her, some smile, some sneer. You look away, but you know what her silence means. Reports whispered of girls sold into prostitution younger than 15. Many did not live long. You remember the child who coughed into his sleeve in the factory. You wonder how many here will make it through the night. Statistics whisper that half will not reach adulthood. Letters describe mothers searching alleys at dawn, calling names that never answer. Reformers write of gangs that recruit the smallest, training them to steal, to fight, to vanish. You think of the boy with the newspaper, his headlines screaming cholera. You wonder if he understands the words he sells, or if he too will be buried without a name when the disease takes him. The fog thickens again, curling like smoke around the lamplight. Children huddle together for warmth, their bodies small islands in the endless dark. You walk past, the sound of their whispers trailing behind, prayers, bargains, half-remembered songs. The city seems to grow quieter with each step, though you know it never truly sleeps. And you carry their faces with you. The girl with the flowers, the boy with the brush, the thief laughing in the alley. You carry their hunger, their fear, their stolen scraps of joy. The night deepens, and the children of the streets vanish into it, swallowed whole by a city that never cared to count them. If you enjoy these journeys, a like and a subscription mean more than you think. They directly keep this channel alive, and I'd love to hear from you too. Where are you listening from, and what time is it where you are? Darkness does not bring rest in Victorian London. It brings something sharper, heavier, like a blanket woven of menace. The fog deepens, the gas lamps blur, and the alleys become labyrinths of shadow. By day you hunger, by night you fear. You step into the street again. The echoes are different now. No cries of vendors, no clatter of carts. Instead you hear boots quickening on stone, the crack of a door shutting, a sudden burst of laughter that sounds more like a threat than joy. You keep to the side, close to the walls. A figure moves ahead, a woman in a shawl, her steps deliberate, her eyes fixed on you. She whispers as you pass. Warm company, cheap. Her voice is flat, rehearsed. You shake your head and keep walking, but she follows for a moment, her hand brushing your sleeve. Then she turns away, fading into another doorway. Records say that by the mid-century, tens of thousands of women in London sold themselves on the streets. Some as young as 12, reformers railed against it. The police half ignored, half profited. For the women themselves, it was not vice but survival. Further down the alley you see three girls huddled together, their laughter high and brittle. A man approaches, coins jingling in his hand. They pull apart, circling him like moths around a dim flame. You look away, yet their voices follow you, half coaxing, half desperate. A shout splits the night. You flinch as two men stumble from a tavern, fists already raised. Their curses echo down the alley. One swings, the other ducks, the sound of knuckles cracking against brick. A small crowd gathers, half eager, half afraid. Some cheer, some spit. One boy scrambles beneath the fighter's feet, snatching a coin that falls from a pocket. No one notices. Violence hides theft as well as shadows. Further on, another noise. The whistle of a constable. Sharp, shrill, commanding. Shadows scatter, feet pounding into darkness. You glimpse a figure sprinting past, a boy clutching something shiny, chased by the tall hat of a policeman. The boy turns into an alley and vanishes. The constable swears, his whistle dying into the fog. London's police, still young in these years, were feared as much as respected. Some saw them as protectors, others as enemies. Reports hint that in the slums few trusted them at all. For the poor, the uniform meant punishment, not safety. Rumours whispered of constables taking bribes, turning a blind eye to brothels or gaming dens. Truth or lie, you do not know. But you feel no safer when their whistles echo. You turn another corner, and the smell hits you. Gin, cheap spirits seep from the taverns, spilling into the night along with singing that slides into wailing. Inside, men drink until they cannot stand, their pay from the week gone in hours. Reformers called gin the murder of England's poor. You believe them, hearing the slurred voices, the crashes of falling stools, the cry of a woman as she is dragged back inside. A door bursts open ahead, spilling yellow light and bodies into the street. Two men tumble out, locked in a drunken embrace of fists and curses. One pulls a knife, gleaming in the lamplight. Gasps ripple through the small crowd, the blade slashes too quick to follow. The wounded man staggers, clutching his side, and collapses onto the stones. No one screams. No one helps. The other man vanishes into the fog. The door slams, and the tavern swallows the moment whole, as though nothing happened. You keep walking, unwilling to linger. The image burns behind your eyelids all the same. At the corner, a group of men huddle, their heads low, their words sharp. You hear the clink of coins, the roll of dice. One glances up at you, his eyes narrow. You lower your gaze, quicken your pace. Dice games, knife fights, back alley deals, these are the heartbeat of the night. Step too close, and you become part of it. Somewhere above, a window slams. A woman leans out, shouting at the gamblers, her hair loose, her face pale in lamplight. They ignore her. She disappears back inside, shutting the city out again. You cross into Whitechapel. The fog grows thicker, tinged with yellow from the lamps. The streets here feel narrower, the shadows deeper. You hear a baby crying behind a shuttered door, then silence as though smothered. You hear men's voices rising in drunken argument, cut short by a sudden thud. The city seems alive, every sound a pulse of violence. On one corner, a ragged preacher stands on a crate, shouting warnings of damnation. His voice cracks, his words swallowed by the night. A pair of drunks jeer at him. Throwing scraps, he raises his arms higher, shouting of judgment, of fire, of sin. But the crowd drifts away. Hunger drowns sermons. Fear drowns faith. A reformer once wrote that London's nights were a theatre of shadows. Here the stage is endless. Prostitutes whisper from doorways. Thieves slip from one alley to another. Drunks stagger into gutters. Children curl on steps, sleeping with one eye open. Death walks slowly, unnoticed, until the cart arrives in the morning. You walk on, heart thudding, your eyes darting from shadow to shadow. Every movement feels like threat. The flutter of cloth on a line, the scurry of a rat, the scrape of a boot on stone. You breathe shallow, afraid to draw attention, afraid even to cough. Ahead, a gas lamp flickers, then dies. The corner plunges into darkness. You hesitate, your feet pausing on the wet cobbles. Behind you, laughter echoes again. Low, cruel, too close. You step forward into the dark, the sound of your own breath louder than anything else. For a moment you imagine a hand reaching from the shadows, a knife glinting, a body slumping. Stories of murders ripple through these streets, names whispered, faces forgotten. Years from now, they will whisper of Jack the Ripper. But tonight you do not need a name to fear the knife. You quicken your pace. The alley bends, then opens again into light. Relief floods you, though the light is dim, though the fog hides more than it reveals. You tell yourself you are safe, though safety here is a word without meaning. Midnight nears. The bells toll across the city, their iron voices carried by smoke. In the distance, dogs bark. A horse snorts. Somewhere, a man screams. You do not wait to hear more. You walk faster, your body taut with exhaustion, your mind sharpened by fear. London does not sleep, not truly. It prowls, and tonight, it prowls around you. You walk until your legs threaten to give way, the night fog clinging to your skin like a wet cloak. Every corner hides menace, every alley a shadow, and yet fatigue presses heavier than fear. Hunger gnaws, yes, but exhaustion is sharper now. You need somewhere to collapse, even if the place itself is misery. Ahead, a crooked sign swings above a doorway, its letters half faded by smoke. Lodging house. The boards creak in the wind, the paint peeling, but the meaning is clear. Shelter, a bed of sorts, a price to pay. Inside, the air is thicker than outside. It reeks of unwashed bodies, damp wool, cheap gin, and the sharp ammonia tang of urine. The heat hits you at once, rising from the crush of people packed within. Voices mumble, coughs rasp, a baby wails, a man curses. The whole place hums with the sound of bodies refusing to sleep, because sleep here is not rest but endurance. A woman behind a counter glances up. Her face is broad, her eyes dull with boredom. "Penny," she mutters. "Half if you still take the rope." The rope. You've heard of it. A thick hemp line strung across a room where men pay to lean against it, sleeping half standing, their bodies dangling like laundry. The cheapest sleep in London. You fumble in your pocket. A coin, grimy, bent, but enough. You push it across. She slides a token back. Number 12. Don't ask for blankets. Don't ask for quiet. Her eyes move past you before you've even taken the token. You are herded into a room where rows of wooden bunks line the walls, 3 high, straw spills from them, black with dirt. The smell is stronger here. Sweat, sickness, rot. Every bed is full. Men lie curled together, shoulders pressed, knees tucked into strangers' backs. A single candle flickers, its wax dripping down onto the wood, casting shadows that seem to move even when the men are still. You climb into your place, a narrow board barely wider than your body. Straw prickles your skin. Someone's elbow presses against your ribs. Another man coughs in his sleep, wet and rattling, spraying droplets that hang in the stale air. You pull your arms tight across your chest, trying to vanish into yourself. Records suggest that London's lodging houses held tens of thousands each night. Some were licensed, some not. Inspectors wrote of rooms so crowded the air itself felt poisonous, so foul the candlelight dimmed within it. Deaths came easily in such places, but so did life, if only for another night. Below, on the floor, you see the rope sleepers, men slumped forward, their arms dangling, their heads pressed against the line. They sway slightly, a grotesque rhythm, as though the whole room breathes in unison. When one slips too far, another pushes him upright again. None speak, none complain. It is simply how it is. You wonder if it is worse to lie pressed against a stranger, or to sleep tied to nothing but a rope. You wonder if the answer matters. A cry startles you. At the far end, a man convulses in his bunk, his body jerking violently. Others recoil, cursing, shouting. Someone calls for the keeper. She appears, mutters, drags the man by his feet from the bed. He collapses to the floor, his chest heaving, foam at his lips. No doctor comes. No one helps. The keeper shrugs, muttering about the fever, and leaves him there. Eventually his breathing slows. He does not rise again. The other sleepers turn back, adjusting straw, pulling rags over their heads. The rhythm resumes. Death is no spectacle here. It is a background noise. You lie awake, staring at the low ceiling beams, your ears filled with the symphony of misery. Snores, coughs, muttered prayers, the occasional moan. Feet shuffle across the floor. Rats scurry along the walls. You feel one brush against your ankle and flinch. But the man beside you does not stir. He is beyond fear, beyond disgust. Somewhere in the dark, two men argue over a blanket. Their voices rise harsh and bitter, until one strikes the other. The sound of knuckles against flesh is swallowed quickly by the coughs and groans. The loser slumps back, silent. The winner curls tighter beneath the ragged cloth, already drifting toward uneasy sleep. Hours pass. The candle dies, leaving only blackness. You try to close your eyes, but the air feels too thick, your chest too heavy. You breathe shallow, afraid to draw in more of the foulness. Your stomach growls, your ribs ache, your head throbs with the stench. Somewhere in this city, the rich lie beneath feather quilts, their rooms scented with lavender, their fires glowing warmly in hearths of marble. You imagine their silence, their comfort. Then you return to the rope, the straw, the stink. You know you will never trade one for the other. At last, exhaustion wins. You drift, half-conscious, your body sagging against the board. Dreams do not come here, only fragments, a bell ringing, a hand tugging your sleeve, the cough that shakes the bed beneath you. Dawn comes not with light, but with sound. The keeper bangs on the door, shouting, "Up! Out!" Bodies stir, groans ripple through the room. Men slide from bunks, children rub their eyes, women clutch babies to their chests. The rope sleepers lift their heads, eyes bloodshot, lines pressed deep into their cheeks. You stumble to your feet, every joint stiff, every muscle sore. Your skin itches from straw and vermin. The door creaks open, spilling grey light into the fetid room. You step back onto the street. The fog greets you, thick and sour, your stomach still empty, your head still aching, your body no stronger than before, yet you lived another night. That in London's set slums is all a penny buys. The dawn fog lingers, heavy and grey, as you step back into the streets. The night in the lodging house still clings to your skin, the stink, the itching straw, the chorus of coughs. But the city does not wait for rest. Already, the bells toll again, deep, insistent, merciless. The sound drives you forward like a whip. Others march with you, silent and gaunt, their faces pale in the dim light. No one speaks of hunger or of sleep. There is no need. The bells say it all. Another day begins, and the machines will grind away another piece of your body. The factory rises ahead, its walls blackened by soot, its chimneys spitting smoke into the sky. Windows stretch in rows, dim with grime, behind which shadows already move. The gate yawns wide, and workers flood in, a river of weary flesh. Men, women, children, no age spared, no body too small to be fed to the gears. A foreman waits at the door, his eyes sharp, his stick sharper. He notes who arrives late, who stumbles, who dares to pause. His ledger is as feared as his lash. Your steps quicken, though your legs drag. One mark in that book could mean dismissal, and dismissal means hunger deeper than this. Inside, the sound engulfs you. It is not a single noise, but thousands clattering looms, clanking gears, the endless whir of belts. The air vibrates with it, shaking your ribs, numbing your mind. You shout once to someone beside you, but your words vanish before they reach your own ears. Dust floats in the air, thick and soft like snow, but sharp as ash when it settles in your throat. You cough, again and again, your lungs scratching raw. Threads stick to your skin, to your hair, even to your lips, when you open your mouth. The smell is a mixture of oil, grease, sweat, and iron. Your station waits a loom taller than yourself, its wheels spinning, its wooden frame trembling as though alive. You step into its shadow, your hands already aching, though the day has barely begun. The foreman shouts and the line begins. Cloth whips past you, threads snapping, fibres tangling. You reach, grasp, tie, pull. The motion repeats until it becomes your whole world. Tie, pull, repeat. Time disappears in the rhythm, swallowed by noise. You are a pair of hands, nothing more. Children scurry beneath the machines, their small bodies darting where yours cannot fit. They crawl on all fours, retrieving fallen bobbins, clearing jams, their heads inches from belts that snap and wheels that crush. One boy slips, his arm caught by the loom. A scream rises, sharp even against the roar. Blood spatters across cloth. The foreman curses, shoves the machine to a halt. The boy is dragged away, limp, his face white as the cotton he tended. Work resumes within minutes. The noise swallows the scream, the blood vanishes beneath fresh fabric, and the loom turns again. You tie, pull, repeat. By noon, if it is noon, for the light barely pierces the filthy windows, your body is drenched. Sweat runs down your back, soaking your shirt. Your fingers blister, your joints swell. You feel as though you have worked a lifetime, but the bell for meal has not yet rung. A woman beside you stumbles, clutching her chest. The foreman strikes her with his stick, hissing at her to stand. She tries, sways, falls again. He drags her by the arm, leaving her spot empty. Another worker slides in, filling the gap before the cloth can falter. The machine does not wait for weakness. Finally, the bell tolls. Workers stagger toward a side room, where benches line the walls. You sit, your legs trembling. A tin bowl is passed into your hands, bread and broth, thin and tasteless, swallowed more for survival than for nourishment. You chew slowly, your stomach cramping with hunger, your jaw stiff from fatigue. The bread scratches your throat, dry and heavy, yet you eat every crumb, licking the dust from your fingers. Someone whispers of strikes, of men in Manchester demanding shorter hours. Another mutters that strikes bring only broken heads and empty bellies. You listen in silence, your mind too weary to imagine rebellion. The bell tolls again. Back to the machines. Back to tie, pull, repeat. Afternoon drags like lead. Your vision blurs, your hands slip, threads snap faster than you can tie them. The foreman shouts, his stick slamming against the loom beside you, jolting you awake. Fear sparks your body forward, though your soul hangs back, exhausted beyond recall. Somewhere down the line, another accident. A scream, a thud, then silence. You do not turn. To see would be to falter, and faltering means punishment. Evening comes only in the fading of the lamps. The windows show darkness now, though inside the machines still roar. At last, another bell. The workers shuffle toward the gate, their faces blank, their limbs leaden. No one speaks. Words are too heavy after 12, 14, 16 hours. Outside, the air is no cleaner, but the sky feels wider. Smoke drifts above, chimneys belching fire against the stars. You breathe deep, but the dust lingers in your lungs, refusing to leave. Every cough shakes your chest. Every step aches in your bones. Records claim that factory shifts stretched from dawn to midnight. 6 days a week, reformers argued for change, citing maimed children, collapsed women, men coughing blood into their hands. Some laws passed, some hours shortened, but in the alleys of London little changed. The machines still demanded, and the poor still obeyed. You walk home, or to what passes as home. Your body bends forward, as though the loom's weight still hangs upon you. The city around you is silent. Now workers too tired to shout, too drained to fight. You pass the same taverns, the same alleys, but even the gamblers seem quieter tonight. Fatigue has stolen even vice. At last you reach the lodging house again. The sign creaks, the door yawns, the smell hits. You push inside, your body moving without will. The keeper nods, your coin vanishes. Another token slides across. You climb to your straw, your body collapsing. The noise of the room, coughs, groans, whispers, seems distant now. You close your eyes. Sleep does not come easy, but exhaustion drags you under. Your last thought the rhythm of the loom. Tie, pull, repeat. Even in dreams, the machine owns you. Morning comes again, though it is little different from night. The fog is still there, the smoke still thick, the hunger still sharp. You wake on straw, your limbs stiff, your chest heavy with the dust of yesterday's factory. The cough in your throat lingers, dry and rasping. You press a hand to your stomach. It answers with an empty growl. The bell will ring soon, calling you back to the loom. But today your hunger is louder than the bell. You know you cannot last another day without food, and so instead of turning toward the factory, your steps lead you elsewhere toward the pawnbrokers. The shop sits on a corner, its windows crowded with objects, candlesticks, pocket watches, bits of jewellery, a violin with a cracked neck. Each item whispers a story, gifts given, lives lived, hopes surrendered. Above the door 3 brass balls hang in a row, the ancient sign of pawnbrokers. To you they look less like balls than chains. Inside the air is thick with dust and despair. Shelves line the walls, stacked with clothing, boots, pots, blankets, even children's toys. The room smells of damp wool and cold iron. People stand in line, clutching their offerings close, their faces grim. No one speaks. Silence hangs heavy, broken only by the scrape of the clerk's pen. You glance down at what you carry, your boots. The leather is cracked, the soles worn thin, but they are still worth something. You think of the winter ahead, of the cold stones biting into your bare feet, yet hunger makes the choice for you. The line shuffles forward. A woman ahead of you holds a silver locket, its chain tangled, its surface dented. She presses it to her lips once before laying it on the counter. The pawnbroker examines it without expression, weighs it, scratches it with a file. He nods, scribbles, pushes a few coins across. She takes them silently, her hand trembling. The locket vanishes into a drawer. Her story vanishes with it. Now it is your turn. You place your boots on the counter. The pawnbroker lifts them, inspects the seams, presses his thumb against the leather. His face betrays nothing. At last he names a price. low, insulting, yet all you can hope for. You nod, unable to argue. He counts the coins into your palm, the metal cold against your skin. He hands you a ticket. The paper is thin, the ink smudged. It promises you the right to reclaim your boots. If you can return with the money and interest, you fold it carefully. In truth, you know you will never see them again. You step back into the street, barefoot now. The stones are damp and cold. Each step stings. Passers-by glance at your feet, some with pity, some with scorn. Shoes mark the line between survival and despair, and you have crossed it. Still, the coins are real, and hunger drives you to the market. There, stalls groan with food, fresh bread, gleaming fish, golden fruit, yet most of it lies beyond your reach. You head instead to the scraps. Stale loaves, bruised apples, meat too tough for the wealthy. You buy what you can, bread that crumbles in your hand, a slice of cheese hard as stone. To you it is a feast. You tear into it in the street, the taste filling your mouth, your stomach easing for the first time in days. The relief is so strong it feels like joy. And yet, even as you eat, you count the coins left, knowing they will not last. Records suggest that pawnbrokers were lifelines for London's poor. In some districts, nearly half of working families visited a pawn shop each week. They pawned clothing on Monday, bought it back Friday after wages, only to repeat the cycle again. Inspectors noted the endless flow of boots, blankets, pots, even wedding rings. Hunger stripped sentiment faster than time. Letters from reformers described pawnbrokers as vultures, feeding on the poor, but others argued they kept families alive. Both may be true. You know only that without them, you would have nothing but hunger. The street grows busier. Children dart past carrying bundles wrapped in cloth. You see a boy clutching a violin, his fingers tight around its neck. He disappears into the pawnbroker's door. Minutes later, he emerges empty-handed, coins in his fist, his eyes wet. His music will never be heard again. Nearby, a mother pushes through the crowd, her baby in her arms, her other child tugging at her skirt. She carries a blanket, the kind that might keep out winter's breath. She enters the shop, and when she leaves, her children shiver in the cold. You walk on, the coins rattling in your pocket, each step reminding you of what you lost. Your bare feet slap against the stone, your toes numb. Already you feel the cold creeping upward. You wonder how many nights you can survive like this. A drunk stumbles past, his boots fine leather, polished and warm. He does not look at you. The divide between you yawns wider with every step. Evening falls. You return to the lodging house, bread in hand. Your feet sore and raw. The keeper eyes you without interest, takes your coin, and waves you inside. The room is the same as before. Crowded, foul, thick with coughs. You sink onto the straw, clutching your bread close. You eat slowly, savouring each bite, though it is gone too soon. The man beside you eyes the crumbs. You break the crust in half. Hand it to him. His eyes meet yours for a moment. A flicker of gratitude before hunger swallows it. He eats in silence. You lie back, staring at the ceiling beams. Your feet throb, your stomach less empty now but already restless. The coins left in your pocket are few, your boots gone, your hope thin as paper. Tomorrow the hunger will return. Tomorrow you may have nothing left to sell. And you? You clutch the pawn ticket as though it means something, though deep down you know the truth. Once given to the shop, most things never return. The morning sun never breaks through the fog, but the city stirs all the same. Your feet ache from yesterday's loss of boots. Your stomach claws at itself again, and yet you walk, drawn by a sound older than bells, the slow, ceaseless lap of water against stone. The Thames. You reach the embankment, where the river sprawls wide and brown, its surface choked with refuse. The tide has drawn back, leaving mudflats streaked with filth, broken crates, dead dogs and human waste. The smell rises thick and foul, a stench that coats your tongue before you even breathe. They call it water. You see only poison. Men and women crowd the shore. Some haul barges, their backs bent, ropes digging deep into shoulders. Others trudge with buckets, scooping the river for washing or cooking. Children pick along the mud, searching for scraps of coal, driftwood, or rags that might fetch a penny. Their feet sink ankle deep, their hands blacken with slime. One girl lifts a bottle, half filled with liquid. She holds it to the light, smiles, and slips it into her sack. Treasure, she calls it. Death, you think. The smell grows worse the longer you stand. Sour, rotten, heavy, like a giant carcass left to fester. You gag, pressing your sleeve to your face. But there is no escape. The stench hangs over the river, over the streets, over the whole city. Records tell of the great stink of 1858, when Parliament itself nearly fled the city. Unable to endure the smell, lime was poured on the banks, curtains soaked in vinegar hung in windows, but nothing helped. The Thames was London's sewer, and London's people drowned in its breath. A barge creaks past, its deck piled with coal. Men shovel furiously, their skin black with soot. Behind it floats another, stacked with barrels of waste. The river carries both wealth and filth together, as though mocking the city. You watch as a cask splits, spilling its contents into the current. The water bubbles, froth swirls with grease and offal. The stink sharpens, stabbing your throat. A boy beside you points. "Fish," he cries, and dives onto the mud, grasping at something pale. He lifts it high. Yes, a fish, bloated and limp, its eyes clouded, its scales dull. He stuffs it into a sack, grinning. You wonder if his family will eat it tonight, if they will sicken tomorrow. Hunger rarely waits for caution. You turn and see a water pump near the bank. A line forms, buckets ready. The water is brackish, cloudy, but no one hesitates. They fill their pails, splash their faces, pour it into flasks. Mothers dip rags, squeezing the liquid into infants' mouths. You remember the Broad Street outbreak, how cholera carried off whole neighbourhoods, how doctors argued whether it rode in air or water. You do not care for arguments. You see only thirst stronger than fear. You take a cup yourself, raise it to your lips. The taste is bitter, metallic, wrong, yet your body swallows eagerly, desperate for anything wet. A church bell tolls behind you. A funeral passes, black coats marching, a coffin borne by 4 men. They walk past the river without pause, their faces blank, their eyes fixed ahead. Death here is routine, woven into the rhythm of the city like smoke and bells. You count the steps until they vanish into fog. Later, at low tide, you see the mudlarks. Boys and girls scatter along the banks, their bare feet sliding, their eyes sharp. They dig with sticks, pry with knives, scoop with their hands. Bones, nails, rags, bits of rope, anything can be sold. A boy lifts a fragment of copper and cheers. Another pulls free a skull, empty sockets staring. He laughs nervously, tosses it back, keeps digging. Inspectors once wrote of mudlarks as children half drowned in filth, whose playmates are rats and corpses. You believe them, watching their small bodies dart through slime, their laughter rising despite the stink. Childhood clings even to hunger, though it rarely survives it. A man in a tattered coat kneels by the river's edge. He lowers a wooden pail, scoops, then drinks deeply. His lips shine with brown water. He coughs once, twice, wipes his mouth, then drinks again. You watch in silence, your stomach twisting. He will sicken. Perhaps he already has. Perhaps he no longer cares. The tide turns. The water rises, covering the mud, swallowing the bones and rags, sweeping refuse back into its depths. The river seems alive, breathing in and out, carrying life and death with equal indifference. Barges drift, gulls wheel overhead, rats scurry along the stones. The city's heartbeat pulses through this water, foul yet unceasing. By dusk, the lamps glow along the embankment. Their halos bend in the mist, their light glimmering faintly on the dark surface. You sit on a step, your bare feet drawn close, the last of your bread crumbling in your hand. You chew slowly, staring at the river. It swallows scraps, secrets and bodies alike. Letters whispered that suicides were common here, men leaping from bridges, women slipping quietly into the current. Some were pulled out, most were not. The Thames kept what it was given. A splash startles you. You glance up, something floats past, too large for wood, too pale for cloth. You look closer, a body rolling gently in the current, arms spread wide. It bumps against a piling, drifts free again, turns slowly until the face disappears beneath the brown. No one shouts. No one stops. The river takes it, as it takes everything. You rise at last. The stench clings to you, heavy in your hair, your clothes, your very skin. You walk away, but the river follows, its breath seeping into every street, every alley, every breath you take. And you know you will drink from it again tomorrow, because thirst does not care where water comes from, because London has no other river. The fog has barely lifted when the noise reaches you. Cries, shouts, the clatter of carts. Your stomach pulls you forward, hollow and desperate. Hunger is not new, but hunger near the market is different. It sharpens into madness when the smells rise thick in the air. You turn a corner, and there it is. The market. Stalls crowd the street. Canvas awnings dripping with dew, crates spilling fruit, baskets heaped with bread. The air swirls with scents both sweet and sour. Fresh apples beside rotting pears, fish bright-eyed beside those already stiff with age. Vendors shout prices, their voices competing in a chorus of urgency. For the wealthy, this place is abundance. For you, it is torment. You step into the crowd. Shoppers in fine coats push past, their baskets already heavy. Coins clink as they pass to vendors, hands quick. Voices brisk. Loaves vanish into satchels, chickens disappear into paper, spices scatter their perfume. You watch, your mouth filling with saliva, your stomach aching at each sight. Then you turn toward the other side, where scraps gather. Stalls where produce softens, bread hardens, meat turns. Here stand the poor, their eyes hungry, their hands clutching coins too small for anything but waste. You join them, waiting for what is left behind. A vendor tosses a cabbage leaf onto the stones. A woman lunges, scoops it, shoves it into her sack. Another woman curses, her voice raw with fury. The vendor laughs, shaking his head, and returns to weighing apples for a gentleman. You glance down at the stones, searching for another scrap, your heart hammering as though treasure lies in the dirt. A fish stall reeks of salt and decay. Silver bodies glisten in the dim light, their eyes glassy. The rich choose the plump, the firm. When they leave, bones and tails scatter across the boards. You edge closer. The vendor swipes them into a bucket. You lift your hand, trembling, and ask. He snorts, eyes rolling, then flings a spine at you. It lands in your palm, sharp, wet. You bow your head, whisper thanks, though he already turns away. Tonight, you will boil it in water, pray for flavour. Records tell of soup shops where bones were boiled endlessly, reused until no taste remained, sold as nutritious broth for pennies. Reformers wrote of mothers dipping stale bread into the grey liquid, feeding children with hands shaking from shame. You have seen such hands. You will see them again. At the bread stall, you reach for a loaf. The vendor snatches it back. Farthing, he demands. You fumble for the coin, press it into his palm. He laughs, breaks the loaf in half, gives you only the smaller piece. The crust is rock hard, the inside dense and sour. You bite anyway, teeth straining, gums bleeding. The taste is rough, bitter, and yet relief spreads through your body, a warmth as real as fire. Beside you, a child clutches a basket of matches. Unsold, her eyes fixed on the bread in your hands. You break off a piece, small as it is, and offer it. She takes it, bites quickly, then runs, disappearing into the crowd before you can speak. For a moment your hunger is deeper, sharper, and then you feel lighter, small kindness against endless want. You wander further, deeper into the stalls, hear the smells worsen, cheese sweating with mould, meat crawling with flies. Yet still, hands reach for it, coins trade, hunger outweighs disgust. A man beside you buys a strip of fat, yellow and greasy. He chews it with closed eyes, as though it were roast beef. Some letters describe adulterated food sold to the poor, bread stretched with chalk or sawdust, milk watered until it was grey, tea mixed with dried leaves of ash trees. Truth or rumour, you cannot know, but the taste in your mouth tells you anything is possible. The market shifts as the day wanes. Wealthy shoppers vanish, their baskets full, the stalls empty, prices fall, scraps scatter. This is when the poor surge forward. Children scramble beneath tables for peelings. Women reach for bruised fruit, men fight over crumbs. Voices rise, bodies push, elbows jab, a potato rolls across the stones, and 3 hands grab it at once. The struggle ends with curses, with blows, until one victor stumbles away, clutching it like gold. You kneel, searching the dirt. Your fingers close around an apple, soft and bruised, its skin split. You lift it, wipe it on your sleeve, take a bite. The sweetness shocks you. Juice runs down your chin. It is the best thing you have tasted in months, though the core is already brown. You eat it whole, seeds and all. A commotion erupts near the edge. A thief snatches a loaf, dashes through the crowd. The vendor shouts, hurls a knife after him, misses. The boy vanishes into fog. For a moment silence lingers. Then trade resumes, as though nothing happened. Hunger forgives crime when crime feeds it. By evening the stalls shutter one by one. Vendors sweep waste into piles. Skins, bones, crusts. The poor swarm these heaps, hands diving, voices shrill. You join them, your fingers closing around a rind of cheese, hard, sharp. It cuts your gums as you gnaw it. Still you chew because it is something, because it keeps you upright. The lamps flicker to life. The market empties slowly, leaving only shadows, scraps, and the echoes of shouts. You clutch your prizes, half a loaf, a fish spine, a rind of cheese. To another they are refuse. To you they are life. You walk back through the fog, your bundle tucked close. Your stomach aches, but it is quieter now, softened by crumbs and scraps. Your feet bleed against the stones, but you step with something almost like relief. Tonight you will not starve. Tomorrow is another matter. And you carry your food as though it were treasure, though you know it will be gone by dawn. The first breath of winter stings sharper than hunger. You wake on straw, your breath a pale mist in the air, the room colder than the street itself. Frost has crept down the window pane, sketching white veins across the glass. The rags that pass for blankets are stiff with damp. Beside you, a man coughs, his lips blue, his eyes dull. He pulls his coat tighter around himself, though it has more holes than cloth. You rise slowly, joints aching, fingers numb. Your toes feel like stones, heavy and unfeeling. You wiggle them, but the numbness remains. Shoes would help, but your boots lie behind a pawnbroker's counter, traded for bread you ate weeks ago. Now the stones bite bare skin with every step. Outside, the fog has thickened into a frozen haze. Your breath hangs before you, swirling with the smoke that pours from chimneys. The air smells sharper now, coal, frost, sewage mingled into a single bitter taste. You wrap your arms tight around your chest, but the wind slips through, cutting you open from within. On the corner, a woman stands with her child wrapped in a thin shawl. The boy's lips are purple, his body trembling. She rubs his arms, trying to spark warmth from skin alone. His eyes close, his head droops. She shakes him, whispers fiercely, forcing him upright. You turn away, unable to watch longer. Records tell that winters killed as many poor as cholera. Cold slipped into bones, stopped lungs, silenced cries. Some froze on doorsteps, others in beds too damp to hold heat. Letters describe water turning to ice in basins inside homes, frost spreading across walls like mold. You do not need letters. You see it with your own eyes. The market looks different in winter. Stalls sag beneath frost, vendors stamping their feet, their breath clouds rising. Food is scarcer, more expensive, the scraps fewer, the fights sharper. A loaf costs more than a day's wage. You stare at it, knowing you cannot pay, knowing hunger will deepen as the cold does. A child darts past, clutching a stolen potato. The vendor shouts, lobs a stone after him, misses. The boy vanishes into the fog. You wonder if you will roast it over a hidden fire, or eat it raw, cold and hard, just to feel something in his stomach. By afternoon, snow begins to fall. At first it softens the city, cloaking soot and filth in white. Children laugh, catching flakes on their tongues. But the beauty fades quickly. Slush churns beneath boots, mixing with horse dung and ash. Water seeps into cracks of stone, freezes, splits them wider. Streets grow slick, treacherous. Bare feet slip, bleed, freeze again. You shuffle carefully, every step a risk. Your toes are numb now, pain replaced by a frightening emptiness. You wonder if they are still part of you. You pass a workhouse gate. Inside, voices murmur, fires burn faintly. Some poor choose surrender in winter, trading freedom for thin gruel and shared heat. You pause tempted, but the memory of straw, of separation, of endless labour keeps you moving. Hunger is cruel, cold is crueler, but the workhouse is both. Evening comes early in winter. The lamps light before you expect them, halos blurred in the snow. The city grows quieter, muffled by the flakes. You hear only footsteps crunching, the low whistle of wind, the occasional groan of a cart struggling through ice. Ahead, a figure sits slumped against a wall. You think he is sleeping until you see the frost on his beard, the stillness of his chest. His hand clutches a begging bowl, empty. Snow has begun to cover him. Passers-by glance once, then move on. By morning he will be gone, carted away like rubbish. You push on, your stomach hollow, your body trembling. Your skin burns where the cold bites deepest, then dulls to nothing. You remember fires from another life, warmth on your face, blankets thick as walls. They feel like a dream now, a story you once heard. At last you reach the lodging house. Inside it is no warmer. The air is thick with breath and damp, but heat does not linger in these walls. Bodies huddle closer than ever, desperate to share warmth. Men press back to back, women curl around children. Some weep softly, the sound muffled by rags pulled over faces. The straw beneath you is icy, wet with melted snow tracked in on bare feet. Someone near you mutters about frostbite, how fingers blacken, how toes fall away. Another whispers of neighbours who burned furniture, even floorboards for heat. You close your eyes, imagining the fire, the crack of wood, the brief warmth before nothing remains. The night stretches endlessly. Every cough sounds sharper, every cry thinner. A child whimpers, his breath rattling. His mother rocks him, murmuring a lullaby that falters into sobs. You roll onto your side, pressing your knees to your chest, your body shivering uncontrollably. Sleep will not come, only the cold. By dawn, the world is white. Snow blankets the roofs, mutes the streets. You step outside, breath pluming, skin numb. Children scrape snow into cups, laughing as though it were food. A man digs through it for coal scraps. His hands raw, his nails black. You shiver, clutch your thin shirt tighter, and step into the day. Hunger waits, but the cold moves faster. It seeps into you, steals your breath, dulls your thoughts. In winter you realize the city itself is an enemy, and it never tires. The cold gnaws at you until your bones feel hollow. Hunger twists your stomach until you are sure it might consume itself. The streets offer no comfort, the lodging house no warmth. And so, like countless others, your steps lead where light and noise still spill into the fog, the tavern. The door swings open with a creak, and the air inside strikes you, thick, sour, clinging. Smoke curls upward in heavy strands, mixing with the sharp reek of gin. The room hums with voices, laughter that cracks into shouting, songs slurred into moans. The heat is not real heat, but the breath of too many bodies packed too close. You push inside. The floor is sticky, your bare feet catching on spilled ale and broken glass. Men lean against the walls, their faces red, their eyes glassy. Women weave through the crowd, skirts brushing your legs, their voices coaxing, their hands reaching for coins. The room spins with noise and need. A barkeep slams down a bottle, the clear liquid sloshing into chipped mugs. You hand him your last coin. He pours without a word, slides the mug toward you. You lift it, the smell hitting before the taste, sharp, medicinal, stinging your eyes. You sip. Fire claws down your throat, searing, then blooming into warmth. For a moment your stomach forgets its emptiness, your body forgets its cold. The warmth spreads outward, false but fierce. You close your eyes, letting it burn. Reformers once called gin mother's ruin. They wrote of children left hungry while mothers drank, of wages vanishing into bottles, of men collapsing in gutters. Reports claimed that in some districts 1 in 4 houses sold spirits. You do not need reports. You see it now, bottles clutched like lifelines, lips pressed as though kissing salvation. At the far end a man sings. His voice raw, others join, pounding fists against the table, sloshing mugs across wood. Their chorus swells, drunken and ragged, yet louder than despair. A fight erupts at the next table. Shouts, a shove, a crash as a chair splinters. The crowd cheers, some rushing closer, others pulling back. Blood splashes across the floorboards. The barkeep barely glances, pouring another round. A woman slides onto the bench beside you. Her hair is tangled, her dress torn, her smile tired. She leans close, breath sharp with spirits. "Another coin," she whispers. You shake your head, showing your empty hand. Her smile fades. She slips away to another, her voice already rehearsed. You watch her go, her shoulders bent, her steps slow. You wonder if she too drinks to forget, if the warmth she offers is only another kind of escape. The mug empties too quickly. You stare at the dregs, cloudy at the bottom, wishing for more. Around you, men slam their mugs, demanding refills. Coins clink, bottles pour. The smell grows heavier. Some slump forward, heads on arms, mouths slack. Others shout louder, trying to drown their own thoughts. A man beside you vomits onto the floor, his stomach emptying what little he had. No one moves. The mess blends into the filth already there. He wipes his mouth, groans, then reaches for his mug again. You rise, dizzy. The room tilts, your legs unsteady. The fire in your veins flickers into fog in your mind. The barkeep shouts at someone. The crowd surges, the air thickens. You push toward the door, your hand grazing strangers' arms, your ears filled with laughter that feels more like weeping. Outside, the night is colder than before. The warmth of gin fades too quickly, leaving your body heavier, your head aching. Yet for a few moments you forgot. For a few moments the hunger and the cold stepped back, replaced by fire. You lean against the wall, breathing deep. Snowflakes catch in your hair, melt on your cheeks. Your stomach growls again, sharper now that the heat has gone. You wipe your lips, tasting both salt and gin. The city hums faintly around you. Voices muffled, carts groaning, footsteps quick against stone. A man stumbles out after you, collapsing onto the cobbles. His bottle shatters, glass scattering like stars. He groans once, then lies still. You watch him, uncertain if he sleeps or dies. No one comes to help. The fog swallows him as it swallows all. You walk again, your body unsteady, your feet numb. The lamps blur in your eyes, halos of gold against black. For a moment you laugh, a sound rising sharp and sudden. It surprises you. Perhaps that is why people drink not only for warmth but for laughter, however fleeting. Records whisper of gin palaces, bright halls lined with mirrors and glass, glittering with gaslight, but such places are far from here. In the slums the tavern is dim, foul, and crowded, and yet it is full, always full, because hunger can be ignored for an hour if your throat burns, because cold can be forgotten if your head spins. You return at last to the lodging house. The keeper squints at you, mutters about drunks, waves you inside. The room feels colder now, your body no warmer for the drink. You collapse onto straw, your head swimming, your stomach sour. Around you, others snore, cough, whisper. Some reek of spirits, their bodies slack, their faces peaceful. You close your eyes, the warmth fading, the hunger returning, the cold creeping back into your bones. Gin gives nothing, you realize, except a memory of comfort, and memories do not fill bellies. Still, as sleep takes you, you think of that fire in your veins, that fleeting relief. You know tomorrow you may trade another coin, another rag for that feeling again, because here in the grip of London's slums, even illusions are worth buying. You wake to the sound of coughing. Not one cough, not even a few, but a chorus. A rising tide of rasping, hacking, choking sounds that fill the lodging house like a hymn of sickness. It echoes against the damp walls, rattles through straw pallets, and settles into your ears as naturally as breathing. In truth, it is the sound of London itself. Your own chest feels heavy. You swallow, and the taste of iron lingers in your mouth. You press your hand to your ribs, and feel the ache that has been there for weeks. You tell yourself it is only the cold, only the dust, only the hunger. But you have seen too many fade from cough to fever to silence to believe that, outside, the streets carry the same rhythm. Men bend double, spitting red into the gutter. Children wheeze, their chests heaving as they drag matches or papers through the fog. Women sit on steps, their faces pale, their eyes hollow, their arms wrapped around bellies that ache not with hunger alone but with sickness. Records say that tuberculosis, consumption, the wasting disease, killed more than cholera or typhus combined. They called it the White Plague, for it drained colour from the cheeks, thinned the body to bones and left only coughing behind. Reformers wrote that entire families coughed themselves to death, one bed after another. You believe it. You hear it in every breath around you. You turn a corner and find a man collapsed against a wall. His skin glistens with sweat. His eyes roll back. His lips murmur something you cannot catch. Around him stand bottles, brown glass, their labels bright with promises. Elixir of health, cure for all fevers, Dr. Sayer's miracle syrup. A boy shouts their virtues, waving one high, 1 penny, heals cough, cholera, colic, anything. His voice cracks, his own chest rattling. You watch as a woman presses her last coin into his hand, desperate. He passes her a bottle, the liquid inside no more than coloured alcohol, flavoured with herbs. She drinks, eyes closed, praying for strength. Quacks fill the alleys, their voices louder than the sick themselves. They promise cures in powders, pills, drops. They sell hope more than health, and hope is always bought. Some claim to carry leeches, others promise bleeding will cleanse the poison from the blood. Some offer laudanum opium in syrup, a blessing and a curse. A man coughs so violently he doubles over, blood spattering his hand. The quack at his side shakes his head. Too far gone, he mutters, pocketing the coin anyway. You walk on, The smell of sickness stronger than sewage. The air itself feels infected. Rumours spread as quickly as fever. Cholera in Whitechapel again, typhus in Spitalfields, diphtheria in Shoreditch. No one knows which is true, for symptoms blur, and bodies vanish too quickly to count. Letters speak of hundreds unburied, carried by carts into pits, their names never written. Once, you hear the rattle of wheels. A true doctor approaches. His carriage marked with gilt letters, his coat clean, his hat shining. He does not stop here. His patients live in houses with curtains, not alleys with rats. For the poor, doctors mean charity at best, contempt at worst. And yet sometimes they come, called by reformers or priests. They step into lodging houses with handkerchiefs pressed to their noses, their faces pale. They prod the sick, prescribe rest, food, clean air, luxuries no one here can afford. Then they leave, their boots unstained, their carriages waiting. In the slums, healing is left to neighbours, to mothers, to chance. A rag dipped in vinegar, a poultice of herbs, a prayer whispered over a fevered brow. Some believe in garlic strung at the door, or onions kept by the bed to draw out the poison. Some swear by burning pitch, by fumigating rooms with smoke. Others simply wait, watching the fever rise, the breath falter, the silence fall. You pass a churchyard. The ground is uneven, mounded with too many graves, stones lean crooked, names blurred. Children play among them, chasing one another, their laughter sharp against the stillness. A man digs with a spade, his shoulders heaving, preparing another pit. The earth is frozen, but death cannot wait for spring. By afternoon, the coughing seems louder than bells. Every corner you turn, it greets you. The boy sits on a step, his head lolling, his eyes dull. His sister shakes him, crying softly. He does not move. Passers-by glance once, then hurry on. The girl rocks him in her arms, her tears freezing on her cheeks. A cart will come for him soon. She knows it. You know it. Still she rocks, whispering lullabies into silence. The fog thickens as evening falls. It tastes of smoke and sickness, settling in your lungs. You cough until your ribs ache, your throat raw. You lean against a wall, gasping, every breath shallow. Around you, others do the same. The city itself seems to wheeze, as though it too is dying. Inside the lodging house that night, the sickness feels closer still. Men cough blood onto straw. Women moan with fever. Children wheeze in their sleep, their small bodies trembling. You lie awake, every sound a reminder that tomorrow you might be one of them. The keeper mutters that death is bad for business. Corpses drive away custom. She orders bodies dragged quickly to the street, left for the cart. You hear the scrape, the thud, the silence. Then the coughs rise again, unbroken. You close your eyes, your body trembling, your breath shallow. You wonder if you too will waste away coughing into rags until your chest is empty. You wonder if any doctor would even speak your name. And then you realize the truth. In these streets, sickness is not an intruder. It is a neighbor. It lives with you, sleeps beside you, walks beside you, and it will not leave until it has claimed you. Night has fallen again, though it brings no peace. The lamps flicker weakly in the fog, their light swallowed before it reaches the ground. You walk carefully, your stomach hollow, your feet raw, your head heavy. Hunger has made you light, almost weightless, as though the city could carry you away with a single gust of smoke. Then you hear it. The sharp trill of a whistle. A constable's call. The sound slices through the night like a knife. Ahead shadows scatter. A boy darts from a doorway, clutching a loaf of bread tight against his chest. Behind him, the heavy boots of a constable pound the stones. "Stop, thief!" The man bellows, his voice hoarse with authority. The boy does not stop. His bare feet slap against the cobbles, faster, faster, until he vanishes into the fog. The constable curses, his whistle shrilling again, his stick raised high. The crowd that has gathered melts away, their eyes down, their mouths shut. No one cheers the boy, no one stops the constable. Here, sympathy is silent. To speak is to risk being noticed, and being noticed is danger. You know this well. The police came to London not long ago, an invention of order, a uniformed presence meant to replace the chaotic watchman. But in the slums, they are not guardians. They are hunters. Reformers claim they keep the peace. The poor say they keep people afraid. Stories swirl through the alleys of bribes taken to ignore gambling dens, of blows given without reason, of whole families dragged to the workhouse under the constable's glare. Truth and rumour blur, but fear is real. As you walk, you hear another commotion. A tavern door bursts open. Two men tumble out, fists flying. One strikes, the other falls, spitting blood onto the stones. The crowd cheers, shouts, pulls closer, then a baton cracks, and the constables push in, swinging hard. They do not care who is guilty, who is drunk, who only watches. Their sticks fall on all alike. The crowd scatters, screams rising, curses flying. The bleeding man is seized, hauled to his feet, shoved toward the waiting wagon. His protests vanish into the night. You step back quickly, pressing into the shadows, heart hammering. You know that one blow could fall on you next, whether you fought or not. Records speak of summary justice, of magistrates sentencing men to hard labour for stealing bread, women to prison for drunkenness, children for picking pockets. Reformers argued that prisons overflowed with the poor, that punishment fell hardest on those who already had nothing. You believe it, seeing the wagon roll past, its iron bars rattling, faces pale behind them. You turn down another alley, seeking quiet. Instead, you find a group of boys huddled in the dark, dice clattering against stone. They glance up as you pass, eyes sharp, hands quick. One mutters something, and suddenly they surround you. Their voices are low, their bodies small but fast. Coin, one whispers, holding out a hand. You shake your head, your pockets empty. But for a scrap of bread, they do not believe you. A shove comes, then another. You stumble, you're back against the wall. Fear rises, choking. Then the whistle sounds again. The boys scatter in an instant, vanishing like smoke. A constable strides into the alley, lantern raised, stick ready. His eyes fall on you. He narrows them. What sets this, then? You stammer, shake your head, hold out your hands. His gaze lingers, suspicious. At last he snorts, lowers the lantern. Keep moving. His stick taps against his palm, a warning as sharp as any blow. You bow your head, shuffle past, your chest still tight with fear. Later you pass the prison gates. High walls rise above you, black and forbidding. Iron bars gleam in the faint light. From within comes a sound, not shouting, not singing, but silence. The silence of too many voices swallowed at once. Let us speak of prisons crammed with debtors, thieves, beggars, families split apart, children jailed with adults, men and women locked in the same damp cells, gal fever spread faster than words, carried by lice and breath, punishment, they called it, but to you it looks like slow execution. At the corner, a preacher shouts at the constables as they march past. He calls them oppressors, curses their sticks, damns their names. The officers ignore him, their boots steady, their faces blank. The crowd watches, silent. When the preacher collapses from his own fury, they step over him, as though he were another stone in the street. You wander further, your steps slow. The city hums faintly, though most are hidden now, behind doors and shutters. Only the poor still move outside. Those with no doors to close, no shutters to bolt. They slip from shadow to shadow, their eyes sharp, their bodies tense. Hunger drives them, cold drives them, fear drives them, and above all, the law drives them. Near dawn, you see the cart again. It rolls down the street, wooden wheels creaking, iron bars rattling. Inside, figures sit slumped, heads bowed. Some cough, some curse, some stare blankly ahead. You follow it with your eyes until it vanishes into the mist, toward the prison, toward silence. You return at last to the lodging house, your body aching, your mind heavy. You crawl into straw, listening to the city settle around you. Somewhere a constable's whistle shrills again. Somewhere a baton cracks. Somewhere a child cries out, then falls silent. You close your eyes, your breath trembling. In London's slums, crime is survival, law is punishment, and violence waits on both sides. And you are caught between, hoping only that the whistle never calls your name. Dawn drags itself across the city. Pale and sickly, the light bending through smoke like a candle guttering in the wind. You wake to the same coughs, the same ache in your belly, the same numbness in your limbs. But this morning, what strikes you first is not the sound of adults, factory bells, wagon wheels, but the voices of children. They swarm the streets before the sun rises. Bare feet slap against stone. Small bodies dart between carts and voices shout the news of the day. Times, morning Times, Gazette, only a penny. Their cries rise high, shrill and desperate, fighting for each other's attention. Each boy clutches a bundle of papers, his hands ink-stained, his eyes already old. You watch one lad, no older than 9, chase a gentleman, thrusting a newspaper forward. The man waves him off, coins clinking in his pocket as he passes. The boy curses under his breath, then runs to the next. Hunger pushes his legs as surely as the bell drives yours. Further down, a girl no taller than your shoulder stands at a corner, a tray of matches strung from her neck. Her voice is soft, almost pleading. Matches, sir. Matches, ma'am. Most ignore her. One man buys a box, drops a farthing into her hand. She bows, eyes down, and whispers thanks. She will sell all day, her stomach empty, her hands stiff with cold. If she returns home unsold, her father may beat her. If she sells none at all, she may not return home at all. Records say that tens of thousands of children lived on London's streets, abandoned or orphaned, cast out by poverty. Some were newsboys, some match girls, some shoeblacks with brushes and rags. Others turned to theft, to begging, to darker trades whispered only in alleys. Few had beds, fewer had parents. Childhood was measured, not in years but in pennies earned before night. You follow them as they scatter. At the market you see boys darting between stalls, their hands quick as rats. One snatches an apple, another a crust. A vendor shouts, throws a stone, but they vanish into the fog. Their laughter rings for a moment, then fades. Hunger makes even crime into play. Near the river, children dig in the mud. Mudlarks with sharp eyes and sharper fingers. They find nails, bones, bits of rope, and call it treasure. Their clothes are rags, their toes black with frostbite, yet they grin, shouting at each other as though the filth were a playground. You see one pull a shard of copper, lift it high like a king's crown. For him, it means a meal. For you, it looks like survival disguised as a game. At dusk, you see where they sleep, under bridges, curled in doorways, huddled in stairwells. Some crawl into barrels, others lie side by side for warmth. Their breaths rise in small clouds, their limbs tangled, their faces slack with exhaustion. They are silent now, but their thin chests rise unevenly, their bodies twitching with dreams. A reformer once wrote that rats and children slept together in the same straw, indistinguishable in the dark. You believe it, watching one boy shove at a rat that noses too close, then roll back into uneasy sleep. Not all wake again. Some are found stiff by morning, their bodies white with frost. Others vanish, taken by gangs, by disease, by hunger. Letters speak of hundreds missing each year, uncounted, unnamed, buried or forgotten. No one searches, no one records. Childhood itself seems to vanish in these streets. One evening, you pass a fire hidden in a ruined yard. Around it sit a dozen children, their faces lit orange, their hands stretched toward the glow. They laugh, swap scraps, sing broken songs. For a moment, they look like what they should have been: carefree, joyful, safe. Then the fire sputters, the smoke thickens, and one begins to cough. The laughter fades, replaced by silence. Even play cannot hold against hunger and cold for long. You hear rumors whispered by adults that some children are trained to pick pockets, sent into the crowds by older men who keep the coins. Some are beaten if they fail, some vanish if they resist. The word thief falls easily from the constable's lips, but rarely does he name the one who profits. Once you see it yourself. A boy no older than 10 slips his hand into a gentleman's coat, lifts a watch, darts away. The man shouts, but the boy is gone. Moments later, you see him hand it off to a waiting man in a dark hat. The man pats his head, gives him a crust of bread. The boy devours it in seconds. The man pockets the watch. The city keeps turning. Even the lodging house does not always open to them. Children too young to pay are turned away, left to curl in alleys, their bodies pressed to each other for warmth. Sometimes kind strangers let them inside, but more often the door slams. You watch one boy, his hands blue, beg the keeper for a place. She shakes her head. He curls on the step, shivering until sleep drags him down. By midnight, the streets are quiet except for the faint cries of infants and the rustle of small feet. You hear a girl humming softly, her song fading into the fog. You hear a boy mutter curses in his sleep, dreaming of fights and thefts. You hear silence deeper than anything, when one does not wake at all. You lie on your straw, listening, your stomach gnawing again, your chest still heavy with cough. But what lingers in your mind are the children. Their sharp eyes, their bare feet, their laughter rising against hunger, their silence when the cold takes them. And you wonder how long any child can survive in these streets before they too vanish into the fog. The bells of London ring again. But this time they do not call you to the factory or mark another death. They toll from the church steeples, deep and solemn, their sound rolling through the fog like a hand pressing down upon the city. You stop in the street, bare feet numb against stone, stomach still aching, and listen. The sound vibrates through your bones as though reminding you of something larger than hunger, larger even than the city itself. The church stands in shadow, its spire blackened by soot, its doors wide. Inside, the air is warmer than the streets, though not by much. The smell of wax and damp stone fills your lungs. Candles flicker in rows, their flames bending when the doors open to let another desperate soul inside. The pews creak under the weight of bodies. Men in ragged coats, women with shawls pulled tight, children clinging silently to skirts. Their eyes are hollow, their hands clasped, their faces turned upward. A priest in robes lifts his arms and speaks of mercy, of patience, of reward beyond the grave. His voice trembles with fervour, rising above the coughs that echo from the benches. You bow your head, though your mind wanders. You wonder if heaven can feed you, if paradise can warm you. The priest's words drift like smoke, intangible, unreachable, yet the murmurs of amen that ripple around you bring comfort, if not food. For a moment you are part of something larger than yourself, a crowd bound not by hunger but by hope. Outside the church, faith takes other forms. In the alleys, women mutter charms against sickness, tying red ribbons to children's wrists to ward off fever. Men nail horseshoes to their doors, hoping to keep poverty at bay. Old crones sell trinkets, buttons said to protect against the evil eye, powders to drive away ghosts, herbs to calm bad dreams. You see a woman sprinkle salt across her doorstep, whispering words you cannot catch. Another places bread beneath her pillow, believing it will bring visions of the future. These acts cost little, yet mean much. In a world where doctors are scarce and hunger constant, superstition becomes its own kind of medicine. A man passes carrying a dead crow, tied to a stick. He says it wards off plague. Children laugh nervously, throwing pebbles, but he holds it high, eyes bright with conviction. Others glance with fear and cross themselves. Folklore and faith mingle in every street corner, every shadow. Records tell of fortune tellers who flourished in the slums, women who read palms, men who cast bones, children who whispered prophecies for a penny. They promised glimpses of luck, of marriage, of survival. Reformers condemned them, calling them liars. Yet the poor kept visiting, because even lies are better than silence. On one corner you see a woman with cards laid out on a crate, their edges frayed, their paint faded. She flips them one by one, her voice low, her eyes never meeting yours. Sickness lingers, she mutters, but a coin offered here can soften fate. A man presses a penny into her hand, trembling as she turns the final card. He nods, comforted. Was it true? You cannot know, but he leaves straighter, as though fate itself has shifted. You recall a story whispered by neighbours that a family once nailed a live rat to their wall to keep away disease. Others said it worked, others said it cursed them. You do not know what is true, but you know that in these streets, truth matters less than hope. Even the factories hum with faith. Some women tie tiny crosses into their shawls before entering, believing it will protect them from broken looms. Men carry scraps of cloth from a child's gown or a mother's apron, talismans to ward off accidents. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but the rituals continue, because to stop would mean surrender. You see a boy spit 3 times before crawling beneath the looms to fetch a fallen bobbin. His friends jeer, but he refuses to move until the ritual is complete. When he emerges whole, their laughter fades. They spit too, just in case. At night, you hear songs rising from the lodging house. Soft hymns hummed beneath breath. Psalms sung in voices cracked with hunger. They echo through the rafters, mingling with coughs and moans. For a moment, the foul air feels lighter. Lifted by the sound, the singing does not last long, but in that short while it feels as though the walls hold warmth. Some do not believe at all. In the corners, men curse God as loudly as others pray. They spit on the church, call priests thieves, mock the hymns, yet even their anger feels like faith of another kind, a refusal to bow, a demand for answers. Once you overhear a heated debate between 2 men. One insists that sin brought poverty upon the city. The other swears that injustice and greed are to blame. Their words clash, their voices rise, but both speak with the same desperation to make meaning of misery, to explain why life here hurts so deeply. One evening you pass a small chapel where children gather. A nun kneels with them, teaching prayers, pressing bread into tiny hands. Her voice is gentle, her face lined with weariness. She blesses each child, and they leave with crumbs in their mouths and hope in their eyes. You watch from the shadows, your stomach twisting. You wonder if you dare step inside. Faith is not only prayer or charms. It lives in gestures of kindness. A neighbour sharing half a crust. A stranger pulling another to his feet. A mother singing though her throat is raw. These moments shine against the darkness, like candles, fragile but real. Still, you cannot help but notice that for every candle there are more shadows. For every prayer, another cough. For every charm, another grave. And yet the rituals continue. Perhaps not because they work, but because without them, despair would drown the city entirely. That night, as you lie on your straw, the sound of hymns still lingers. The coughs rise louder, the cold presses deeper, the hunger gnaws again, but in your pocket lies a button given by an old woman. She swore it would keep death from your door. You know it is nonsense. You know death walks freely here. And still, you keep the button. Because in London's slums, sometimes hope itself is the only cure. The word itself carries weight. Workhouse, you hear it whispered in the alleys, spat in curses, muttered in warning to children who beg too loudly. For some, it means survival. For most, it means surrender. This morning, as hunger gnaws again and the cold stiffens your limbs, you pass a building whose walls are higher, cleaner, more forbidding than the lodging house. Iron gates guard the entrance, and above them hangs a sign marked with bold letters, Union Workhouse. You stop, your stomach tightening, not only from emptiness, but from dread. The stories you have heard flood back, families torn apart at the door, husbands to one wing, wives to another, children scattered among strangers. They say infants cry themselves hoarse in separate nurseries, their mothers not allowed to soothe them. They say old men die alone in beds surrounded by walls of silence, while their wives breathe their last in another building across the yard. You stand there, staring, and wonder, is warmth worth this? Is food worth losing everyone you know? A cart rattles past you, driven by two men in dark coats. In the back sit four figures, thin as skeletons, their eyes downcast, their hands clutching one another. They do not speak as the cart turns through the gate. The doors close behind them with a groan of iron. The silence afterward feels final, as though the city itself has swallowed them whole. You follow, your curiosity stronger than your fear, and peek through the bars. Inside, the yard is bleak, its walls tall and bare. Men move in lines, their coats identical, their faces blank. Women scrub stone floors with rags until their knuckles bleed. Children shuffle in pairs, carrying pails of water heavier than their bodies. No one looks up. No one speaks. Records from inspectors describe the workhouses as houses of industry. They claimed that food and shelter were provided. That order reigned where chaos once ruled, but the poor called them prisons. The phrase the workhouse test became infamous. Life inside was made so harsh, so humiliating, that only the truly desperate would enter. Poverty itself was treated as a crime, and punishment was misery. At the gate, a man coughs, begging the keeper for entry. His cheeks are hollow, his eyes glazed with fever. The keeper eyes him coldly, scribbles in a ledger, and waves him inside. He disappears, swallowed by the walls. A woman approaches next, holding a child. She pleads, voice breaking, but the keeper shakes his head. Children above a certain age must go to their own ward. She hesitates, clutching the boy tighter. Then guards pry him from her arms. His cries echo as they drag him away. Her face crumples, but she does not resist. Hunger has stripped even her protest. You step back from the gate, your hands trembling. Inside, the rules are strict. Men rise at dawn, march to their tasks. Stone breaking, oakum picking, crushing rocks into gravel for roads. Their fingers bleed, their backs stoop, their spirits bow. Women scrub, sew, mend, wash. Children learn letters by rote, though often their lessons end in labour just the same. Meals are thin gruel, coarse bread, sometimes cheese, enough to live, never enough to thrive. Some reformers wrote that meat appeared on Sundays, but those who lived there said it was so tough it broke teeth. Water was brackish, tea weak, broth greasy with bone. Still, it was more than many had outside. That knowledge was both comfort and curse. You imagine yourself inside. You imagine the clang of the bell at dawn, the scrape of wooden benches, the endless shuffle of feet in corridors that smell of soap and sorrow. You imagine eating in silence, the scrape of spoons against tin bowls, no laughter, no chatter, only the sound of hunger soothed but never satisfied. One night you overhear a man in the lodging house. He mutters that he spent a year in the workhouse. His voice is low, his eyes dark. They break you, he says, not your body, your spirit. You forget who you are. You forget you had a wife, a name, a life before the gate closed. He shivers though no wind blows. Better to starve free than live fed in chains. Another man interrupts, coughing until his chest rattles. Better fed in chains than dead in the gutter. The room falls silent. The choice hangs between them, heavy as the fog itself. You dream of it sometimes, walking through those gates, trading hunger for order, cold for shelter. But always you wake, the walls around you still damp, your body still aching, your stomach still empty, and yet you feel almost relieved, because even in hunger you are free. Still, not everyone refuses. You hear of neighbours who vanish into the workhouse and never return. Some survive, some fade away, some are buried in pauper graves without marker or name. For those outside, they are as good as gone. One morning, you pass a burial ground. Rows of plain wooden markers stretch across the mud, many with no names at all. The caretaker shrugs when asked. "Workhouse dead," he mutters. "Too many to count, too poor to mark." You stand among them, the silence louder than bells. Even children fear it. "Be quiet, or I'll send you to the workhouse," mothers whisper. Its silence is crying faster than hunger. The thought of being torn from family, forced into lines, into silence, chills deeper than frost. By night, you return to your straw. The choice weighs on you like a stone. Hunger presses hard, cold presses deeper. Sickness gnaws at the edges of your breath. Yet you resist the gate. You clutch your pawn ticket, your button, your scraps, as though they are shields. You tell yourself you still belong to the city, not to its prison of charity. And you lie awake, listening to the coughs, staring into the dark. You wonder if tomorrow you will still resist, or if tomorrow the gate will open, and you will walk inside. If you enjoy these journeys, a like and a subscription mean more than you think. They directly keep this channel alive, and I'd love to hear from you too. Where are you listening from, and what time is it right now? The city never truly sleeps, yet some streets are quieter than others. You walk them at night and notice the silence, heavy and unnatural, broken only by the drip of water or the squeak of a rat. Here, shadows cling longer. Here, you feel eyes that no longer see. A figure lies on the steps of a doorway, wrapped in rags stiff with frost. At first you think he sleeps, but his chest does not rise. His hand stretched toward the street is rigid, fingers curled as though clutching an invisible coin. People pass without pausing. One woman glances, mutters a prayer, and keeps walking. By morning, a cart will come. Until then, he is only another shadow. You turn down an alley where coughing echoes louder than footsteps. A child curls against a wall, his sister rocking him gently. His breaths are shallow, his face pale, his body light in her arms. She whispers songs, her voice trembling, but his eyes are already glazed. When his chest falls still, she does not scream. She only rocks him harder, tears shining in the lamplight. Hours pass before she lays him down and covers him with her shawl. By dawn, she is gone. Records tell of the dead carts that rolled through London's streets, collecting bodies for burial. In some districts they came daily, the wheels groaning, the drivers silent. Corpses were lifted with little ceremony, sometimes 2 or 3 at once, stacked like refuse. Pauper graves waited at the edge of the city, long trenches where coffins were rare and names rarer. You see one cart yourself. Its driver smokes a pipe, his eyes half closed, as he and his assistant heave a body onto the pile. A sheet slips, and a pale face stares upward for a moment before disappearing again. The cart rolls on, the wheels squealing, the bodies shifting with each bump. The smell lingers long after it vanishes into the fog. Even inside the lodging house, death comes quietly. Men go to sleep on straw and do not wake. Their neighbours mutter, shift them aside, and continue their rest. The keeper curses, drags the body out by the arms, leaves it by the door until the cart arrives. No prayers, no words, only silence. The space fills quickly, another desperate soul sinking into the straw by nightfall. One evening you pass a narrow court where women gather around a bundle. Their whispers rise and fall, their faces grim. You step closer and see it is a newborn, still and pale, wrapped in rags. Its mother sits against the wall, her eyes blank, her arms empty. She does not weep. Perhaps she cannot. The women murmur prayers, cross themselves, then lift the bundle and carry it away. The mother remains, staring into nothing, her lips parted as though the world itself has left her behind. Reformers wrote of overcrowded graveyards where bodies were stacked deep, their coffins touching, sometimes breaking open. In St. Giles and Whitechapel, the earth rose with the weight of death, seeping foul smells into the houses that leaned against the walls. Children played among the stones, leaping over mounds that hid dozens beneath. Death was not hidden here. It was part of the scenery. You once passed 2 graveyards in a single day. In one, near the city's richer quarters, black horses draw a hearse, plumes of feathers swaying above their heads. Mourners in fine coats follow, carrying flowers, their faces solemn but proud. The coffin gleams with polish. The priest's voice rings clear. The grave is cut neatly. Only one man lies here, and his name will be carved in stone. In the other graveyard, you see a trench half filled already. Rough wooden boxes are stacked beside it. Some are lowered in, some simply tipped, the bodies spilling together. No words are spoken, no flowers offered. The earth falls heavy, dull, final. By nightfall, the trench will be full, and another will be dug. No names will mark it, only silence. The contrast stings sharper than hunger. At night, stories of death circle the rooms like smoke. A man swears he saw a ghost near the river, a pale figure drifting through fog. A woman claims she heard the cry of a banshee outside her window before her neighbour died. Children whisper of shadows that sit on your chest while you sleep, stealing your breath, whether truth or terror you do not know, but you shiver all the same. Sometimes you wonder if the city itself is haunted, not by single ghosts, but by thousands wandering endlessly through its alleys. The coughs, the rattles, the groans, perhaps they are not only of the living, perhaps the dead linger too, unwilling to leave the streets where they starved. You realize how ordinary death has become. No wailing, no grand processions, no carved monuments, only quiet removal, quick burial, forgetfulness. The city swallows the poor as efficiently as it swallows their hunger, their labour, their hope. Death here is not an end to fear, but another part of life, as constant as the bell or the fog. And yet, sometimes, tenderness lingers. A neighbour slipping a coin onto a dead man's chest. A child kissing her brother's forehead before covering him with rags. A woman humming softly over a still bundle, her lullaby fading into the dark. These are the only funerals most will ever have. Small, fragile, but real. As you lie back on your straw that night, the coughs echo again. You wonder which will fall silent by morning. You wonder if anyone would notice if it were yours. And you clutch your chest, breathe deep, and wait for sleep. But in the dark, death feels closer than dreams, watching from the corners, patient as the city itself. Morning breaks with the same grey fog, the same coughs, the same gnawing hunger. Yet as you step into the street, something feels different. Among the misery, among the silence, you catch a glimpse of kindness, so small it could be missed, so fragile it might vanish in an instant. But here, such mercies matter more than gold. Near the pump, a woman bends to fill her bucket. The water splashes weakly. Brackish as always, she glances behind her, sees a boy no older than 6 clutching an empty tin. His hands tremble. His lips are cracked. Without a word, she tips her bucket and fills his tin first. The boy looks up, startled. She pats his hair, rough but gentle, then walks away with less than she needs. Her back is bent, her dress threadbare, but for a moment she stands taller. Further down the street, you watch a man break his bread in half. He chews one piece slowly, savouring every crumb, then slips the other piece into a child's hand. The boy's eyes widen. His mouth opens in disbelief. The man only nods, wipes his hands on his coat, and walks on. Hunger is not eased, but the gesture burns brighter than the fog. Inside the lodging house you see a woman sew patches onto another's shawl. Her own coat hangs open, her fingers red with cold, but she pulls her thread tight with care. The younger woman murmurs thanks, clutching the mended shawl to her chest. It is not new, not warm, but it is whole again, and in that wholeness lies hope. A cough rattles through the room. An old man leans forward, chest heaving, until his neighbour presses a rag soaked in vinegar into his hands. "Breathe through this," she whispers. He obeys, gasping, his breath slowing. It will not cure him, but it buys him another hour, another night, another chance to see the dawn. Once at dusk you hear music. A boy with a battered fiddle stands in the alley, his bow trembling, the strings shrill at first. Then the tune steadies, soft and lilting. Heads lift, eyes widen. Children gather, clapping weakly, their laughter rising above the notes. Even the coughing pauses, just for a while. Coins do not fall into his cap. None here can spare them, but the smiles are coin enough. The boy grins, playing louder, as though for an audience grander than kings. Records from reformers speak of penny dinners, hot soup provided by charities in church basements. You wander toward one and find a line stretching down the street. Mothers cradle children, men clutch empty bowls, the air buzzing with murmurs of hope. Inside, steam rises, thick with the smell of broth and onions. Each person receives a ladleful, sometimes two, and sits at rough benches to eat. The soup is thin, the bread coarse, but warmth fills the room as surely as food fills the belly. People talk, laugh softly, share news. For a single evening, hunger loosens its grip. One night, you wake to a whisper. A woman tucks her child beneath her shawl, then pulls another child. Someone else is closer too. The mother is not there, perhaps lost to fever, perhaps gone to work. The woman hums a lullaby, her arms cradling both children, as though they were her own. The song drifts through the straw, soft as breath. You close your eyes, and for a moment the lodging house feels like a home. In another corner, a man produces a scrap of candle. He lights it, the flame flickering, and holds it steady until the wax burns his skin. Around him, faces glow in the dim light. Children watch the flame as if it were the sun itself. When the candle sputters out, no one complains. They all sit quietly, holding the warmth in memory. Even laughter finds its place here. Two boys chase each other through the alley, their bare feet slapping, their voices shrill with joy. They tumble into the mud, wrestle, shout, grin through soot-streaked faces. For an instant they are children again. Not hawkers, not thieves, not beggars, just boys. The onlookers smile, some shaking their heads, but no one scolds. Joy is too rare to waste. Later, you pass a baker's shop in the richer quarter. The smell of fresh bread hangs thick in the air. The baker glances at the group of children staring through the window. He sighs, shakes his head, then tosses two burned loaves into the street. The children dive, tearing pieces, their mouths full before the loaves hit the ground. The baker watches, arms crossed, his face stern. Yet when no one looks, you catch him smiling faintly. Stories spread in whispers of a doctor who treated a feverish child for free, of a landlord who forgave a week's rent, of a neighbour who pawned his only coat to buy medicine for another. Perhaps they are true, perhaps not, but the telling of them is comfort in itself. If kindness exists somewhere, maybe it can reach you too. Even in death, mercy appears. You see a woman lay flowers, wilted, stolen perhaps, on a pauper's grave. No name marks the earth, no stone rises above it, but the flowers gleam against the mud. Another day, a man carves initials into a plank and sets it at a mound's head. The letters are crooked, the wood rough, but it is enough to say, someone remembered. These mercies are small, fragile, fleeting, yet they glow brighter than the gas lamps, brighter than the factory fires. They remind you that even in the darkest streets, the human heart refuses to be silent. That night, as you lie on your straw, You recall the fiddle's tune, the taste of broth, the warmth of a candle. Your stomach still aches, your chest still rattles, but inside you feel a spark, a fragile ember of something stronger than hunger. And you realize that survival is not only food or warmth, it is kindness, it is sharing, it is the stubborn act of being human, even in a world that tries to strip you bare. Night drapes itself over London once more, but this night feels different. The air is thick yet quieter, the streets still foul yet softened by darkness. You walk slowly, your steps light on the cobblestones, as though the city itself is letting you go. You turn down alleys you have walked 100 times, yet tonight they seem unfamiliar. The walls lean close, their bricks slick with mist, but the angles feel less sharp, the shadows less menacing. Windows glow faintly, their light blurred by grime, like stars glimpsed through clouds. Behind them, voices murmur, soft laughter, low songs, prayers whispered in exhaustion. For once they do not sound desperate, they sound human. A cart rattles by, but its wheels are muffled by fog. The driver hunches low, his lantern barely glowing. Inside the cart, no bodies lie tonight, only empty crates rattling against one another like bones. The sight startles you, almost a mercy. You step aside, the fog curling behind it, and listen as it fades into distance. Near the river, you pause. The Thames is black, sluggish, its surface silvered by the moon. Usually the stench overwhelms you, but tonight a breeze carries it away. Instead, you smell smoke from hearths, faint and warm, drifting from chimneys above. The water laps slowly against stone, a sound steady as breathing. You rest your hand against the wall and let the rhythm soak into your body. Letters from the time hint that even the poorest found moments by the river. Some wrote of staring into the water until their hunger dulled, until their grief eased, until silence itself felt like comfort. You understand it now. You turn away, wandering deeper into the city. You pass a doorway where a woman hums to her child. The lullaby rises through the fog, weaving into the night. The child stirs, then sighs, falling back into sleep. The woman's voice cracks, but she keeps singing, her words tender, fragile, determined. You stand still, listening. The sound settles over you like a blanket. Inside the lodging house, the air is heavy, but not with fear. Men shift on straw, sighing softly. Women curl together for warmth, shawls tangled. Children breathe evenly, their ribs rising and falling like tides. Even the coughs are quiet now, fading into the night instead of breaking it. Someone lights a stub of candle. Its flame flickers, throwing shadows that sway gently across the walls. For a moment it looks like the room is alive with figures, neighbours long gone, faces remembered, ghosts that smile instead of curse. Then the flame steadies, small but strong. All eyes drift toward it, as if every soul in the room has agreed silently to guard its light. You lie down on your straw. The prickles no longer matter. The damp no longer chills. Hunger is there, sharp as ever, but softened by fatigue, dulled by quiet. Your body sinks deeper into the rags, as though the earth itself has decided to cradle you. The city continues outside. Somewhere a bell strikes, its tone slow, patient. Somewhere a cat yowls, then falls silent. Somewhere boots scrape against stone, fading until they merge with the fog. But all of it feels distant now, like echoes from another life. You remember what you have seen. The dead cart's wheels, the boy's fiddle, the nun's bread, the candle's glow. You carry them inside you, as though each moment has left a mark. Pain, yes, but mercy too. London's cruelty and London's kindness sit side by side within you, and both are true. Your breath slows. The air no longer tastes of smoke or sewage. It tastes of nothing at all, blank and soft. You hear your own heartbeat, steady, calmer now. Around you, others breathe as one, their chests rising and falling in rhythm, as if the city itself has joined in a final lullaby. The fog grows thicker, pressing against the windows, wrapping the walls. It creeps into the cracks, fills the air, softens the corners of the room. It is not cruel tonight. It is gentle, like a veil drawn to quiet the world. You let it cover you. You close your eyes. The sounds grow fainter. First the coughs, then the whispers, then even the faint rush of the river. They drift away, dissolving into nothing. What remains is only stillness. You are safe now. The hunger loosens its grip. The cold slides away. The shadows retreat. London itself fades, its alleys dissolving, its chimneys falling silent, its graveyards closing their mouths. The world shrinks smaller, softer, until it is only you, your breath, and the warmth spreading slowly through your limbs. You sink deeper. Each breath is longer than the last. Each pause heavier. You feel yourself drifting not into fear, but into calm. The straw beneath you softens. The dark around you brightens, not with light, but with peace. You let go. And as the city fades behind you, you realize that even here, in its darkest heart, the night can offer rest. You are safe now. The streets are behind you. The noise, the smoke, the hunger, they belong to another place, another time. None of it can reach you here. Breathe slowly, in and out. Feel how the air moves gently through you. Lighter with each breath, the weight in your chest loosens. The tightness in your stomach fades. All that remains is calm. The world around you softens. The straw beneath you is no longer rough. It feels warm, like a blanket spread just for you. The darkness is not heavy. It is gentle, wrapping around you like velvet, closing the door on everything outside. You listen, and you notice how quiet it has become. The coughs are gone, the clatter of wheels, the echo of boots, even the distant bells, all of them dissolve, fading into stillness. What remains is only the slow rhythm of your breath, in and out, in and out, each breath deeper, slower, steadier. Your body begins to sink. First your shoulders, heavy now, sliding downward, then your arms, unclenching, loose as water. Your hands rest soft at your sides. Your legs follow, stretching long, growing heavier with every exhale. Your whole body drifts lower and lower, as though the earth itself is cradling you. The last of the tension slips away. Your forehead smooths. Your jaw loosens. Even your eyes, though closed, soften, no longer searching, no longer waiting. Around you, the fog curls not as shadow, but as shelter. It quiets every sound, softens every edge, turns the night into a safe cocoon. You are wrapped inside it now, held gently, like a child carried into sleep. Breathe once more, slow, steady, easy. The world grows farther away. Thoughts blur, dissolve, fall silent. You do not need to remember, or to hold, or to fear. You only need to rest. And as your breath steadies, as your body grows warm and still, you drift downward, deeper, softer. The night holds you. Sleep welcomes you. Sweet dreams.